Baltistan, also known as Baltiyul or Little Tibet, is a mountainous region on the border of Pakistan and India in the Karakoram Mountains just south of K2. Its average altitude is over 3,350 meters. Baltistan borders Gilgit on the west, Xinjiang in the north, Ladakh on the southeast and the Kashmir Valley on the southwest. Until 1947, Baltistan and Ladakh were administered jointly under one wazarat of Jammu and Kashmir. Baltistan retained its identity in this setup as the Saravask tehsil, with Kargil and Leh being the other two tehsils of the district. After the Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir acceded to India, Gilgit scouts overthrew the Maharaja's governor in Gilgit and liberated Baltistan. The Gilgit Agency and Baltistan have been governed by Pakistan ever since. The Kashmir Valley and the Kargil and Leh tehsils were retained by India. A small portion of Baltistan, including the village of Turtuk in the Nubra Valley, was incorporated into Ladakh after the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. The region is inhabited primarily by Balti people of Tibetan descent. Millennia-old Tibetan culture, customs, norms, language and script still exist, although the vast majority of the population follows Islam. Baltistan is strategically significant to Pakistan and India. The Kargil and Siachen Wars were fought there. The region is the setting for Greg Mortenson's book, 3 Cups of Tea. Geography. The 1911 Encyclopedia Britannica characterizes Baltistan as the western extremity of Tibet, whose natural limits are the Indus River from its abrupt southward bend around the map point, 35.86 degrees north, 74.72 degrees east, 35.86, 74.72 and the mountains to the north and west. These features separate a comparatively peaceful Tibetan population from the fiercer Indo-Aryan tribes to the west. Muslim writers around the 16th century speak of Baltistan as the Little Tibet and of Ladakh as the Great Tibet, emphasizing their ethnological similarity. According to Ahmad Hassan Dani, Baltistan spreads upwards from the Indus River and is separated from Ladakh by the Siachen Glacier. It includes the Indus Valley and the lower valley of the Shyok River. Baltistan is a rocky mass of lofty mountains, the prevailing formation being gneiss. In the north is the Baltoro Glacier, the largest out of the Arctic regions, 35 miles long, contained between two ridges whose highest peaks to the south are 25,000 feet and to the north 28,265 feet. The Indus River runs in a narrow gorge, widening after receiving the Shyok River at 35.23 degrees north, 75.92 degrees east, 35.23, 75.92. It then forms a 20-mile crescent-shaped plain varying between 1 mile and 5 miles wide. The main inhabitable valleys of Kaplu, Skadu and Roundu are along the routes of these rivers. Valleys and districts. History. For centuries, Baltistan consisted of small, independent valley states connected by the blood relationships of its rulers, trade, common beliefs and cultural and linguistic bonds. The states were subjugated by the Dogra rulers of Kashmir during the 19th century. On 29 August 2009, the government of Pakistan announced the creation of Gilgit-Baltistan, a provincial autonomous region with Gilgit as its capital and Skadu its largest city. Baltistan was known as Little Tibet, and the name was extended to include Ladakh. Ladakh later became known as Great Tibet. Locally, Baltistan is known as Baltiyul and Ladakh and Baltistan are known as Mariel. Origins. Tibetan Kampa entered in Kaplu through Chorbat Valley and Dardic tribes came to Baltistan through Roundu Valley from Gilgit prior to civilization, and these groups eventually settled down, creating the Balti people. Today, the people of Kamang and Western Kaplu have Tibetan features, and those in Skardu, Shigar and the eastern villages of Kaplu are Dards. It was believed that the Balti people were in the sphere of influence of Xinjiang. Baltistan was controlled by the Tibetan king Songtsen Gampo during the 7th century AD. Culturally influenced by Tibet, the Bon and animist Baltis began to adopt Tibetan Buddhism. Religious artifacts such as gumpas and stupas were built, and lamas played an important role in Balti life. During the 14th century, Muslim scholars from Kashmir crossed Baltistan's mountainous terrain to spread Islam. The Kamang came under the control of the Namgyal royal family and developed a close relationship with Ladakh when the Raja of Ladakh, Jamyang Mangyal, attacked the principalities in Kargil. Mangyal annihilated the Skardu garrison at Kabu and put to the sword a number of petty Muslim rulers in the principalities of Purik. Ali Sher Khan Anshan, Raja of Kaplu and Shigar, left with a strong army via Marol. Passing the Ladakhi army, he occupied Leh and the Raja of Ladakh was taken prisoner. Ali Sher Khan Anshan included Gilgit and Chitral in his kingdom of Baltistan, reportedly a flourishing country. The valley from Kapni to Kachura was flat and fertile, with abundant fruit trees. The sandy desert now extending from Sundus to Skardu airport was a prosperous town. Skardu had hardly recovered from the shock of the death of Anshan when it was flooded. In 1845, the area was seized by the Dogras. Tourism. Skardu has several tourist resorts and many natural features, including plains, mountains and mountain valley lakes. The Diosai Plain, Satpara Lake and Basho also host tourists. North of Skardu, the Shigar Valley offers plains, hiking tracks, peaks and campsites. Other valleys in Baltistan region are Kaplu, Rondus, Kachura Lake and Kamang. Glaciers. Baltistan is a rocky wilderness of around 27,000 square miles, with the largest cluster of mountains in the world and the biggest glaciers outside the polar regions. The Himalayas advance into this region from India, Tibet and Nepal, and north of them are the Karakoram range. Both ranges run northwest, separated by the Indus River. Along the Indus and its tributaries are many valleys. Glaciers include Baltoro Glacier, Biafo Glacier, Siachen Glacier, Trango Glacier and Godwin-Austen Glacier. Mountaineering. Baltistan is home to more than 20 peaks of over 20,000 feet, including K2, Broad Peak, Hidden Peak, Gasha Brum 2, Gasha Brum IV and Chogolisa. The following peaks have been scaled. Demographics. The region has a population of about 322,000. It is a blend of ethnic groups, predominantly Tibetans, Baltis and Monpa. A few Kashmiris settled in Skardu, practicing agriculture and woodcraft. The Yabgo family of Kaplu were from Yarkand County of China. Religion. Before the arrival of Islam, Buddhism was the main religion in Baltistan. Buddhism can be traced back to before the formation of the Tibetan Empire in the region during the 7th century. The region has a number of surviving Buddhist archaeological sites. These include the Manthil Buddha Rock, a rock relief of the Buddha at the edge of the village, and the sacred rock of Hunza. Nearby are former sites of Buddhist shelters. Islam was brought to Baltistan by Sufi missionaries during the 16th and 17th centuries, and most of the population converted to Norbakshir Islam. The scholars were followers of the Kubriya Sufi order. Most Norbakshi Muslims live in Gash and Shigar districts, and 30% live in the Skardu district. Fauna. Baltistan has been called a living museum for wildlife. Diosai National Park, in the southern part of the region, is habitat for predators since it has an abundant prey population. Domestic animals include jacks, cattle, sheep, goats, horses, horses and donkeys. Wild animals include ibex, markhor, musk deer, snow leopards, brown and black bears, jackals, foxes, wolves and marmots. Culture. Balti music and art. According to Balti folklore, Mughal Princess Gul Khatun brought musicians and artisans with her into the region, and they propagated Mughal music and art under her patronage. Musical instruments such as the surnay, karnai, dhol and chang were introduced into Baltistan. Dance. Classical and other dances are classified as sword dances, brokchos and yagar and ghazal dances. Cho Prasul commemorates a victory by the Makpon Rajas. As a mark of respect, the musician who plays the drum plays for a long time. A Makpon princess would occasionally dance to this tune. Gasho Pa, also known as Ghbus Lakorba, is a sword dance associated with the Gasho dynasty of Purik. Sneopa, the marriage procession dance by Pichones, is performed at the marriage of a Raja. Architecture. Balti architecture has Tibetan and Mughal influences, and its monastic architecture reflects the Buddhist imprint left on the region. Buddhist-style wall paintings can be seen in forts and Bakshi Kankas, including Chakshan Mosque in Kaplu, Amburik Mosque in Shigar, Kankar Imula Shigar, Kaplu Fort, Shigar Fort and Skardu Fort. Polo is popular in Baltistan, and is indigenous to the Karakoram. Makpon ruler Ali Sher Khan Anshan introduced the game to other valleys during his conquests beyond Gilgit and Chitral. Media. The Pakistan Broadcasting Corporation has radio and television stations in Kaplu that broadcast local content, and there are a handful of private news outlets. The Daily K2 is an Urdu newspaper published in Skardu serving Gilgit-Baltistan. Badi Shimil claims the largest daily circulation in Gilgit and Baltistan. Nawa-e Sufia is a monthly magazine covering Baltistan's Nurbakshi sect. Bibliography. Agarwal, Ravina, Beyond Lines of Control, Performance and Politics on the Disputed Borders of Ladakh, India, Duke University Press pp. 199, ISBN 08223-34143. Dani, Ahmad Hassan, The Western Himalayan States, in M.S. Asimov, C.E. Bosworth, History of Civilizations of Central Asia, Volume IV, Part 1, The Age of Achievement, AD 750 to the end of the 15th century, The Historical, Social and Economic Setting, UNESCO, pp. 215-225, ISBN 97892-3-103467-1. Karim Afzia, Strategic Dimensions of the Trans-Himalayan Frontiers, in K. Wariku, Himalayan Frontiers of India, Historical, Geopolitical and Strategic Perspectives, Routledge pp. 56-66, ISBN 9781134032945. Piram Shuif, H. S. Dani, Ahmad Hassan, The Pamirs Badakhshan and the Trans-Pamir States, in Chafyar Adil, Irfan Habib, History of Civilizations of Central Asia, Volume V. Development in Contrast, from the 16th to the mid-19th century, UNESCO, pp. 225-246, ISBN 97892-3-103876-1.